Mr. President, we're sitting here in a kind of a rarefied world here in the United States Senate, in these chambers. Some would suggest that we live in a little bit of a bubble. Let me tell you, the folks who are not living in a bubble, those who have been furloughed as federal employees, those that have been shut out of whatever it is that they had hoped they were going to be doing this past week, those in my state, for instance, that are looking to fill the family freezer. It's moose season, but now they're told that they can't access any of the refuge lands because Fish and Wildlife has said you cannot access these lands regardless of what ANILCA provides, regardless of the promise for full public access to these federal lands. Those folks who are feeling the real impact of a government shutdown are not living in a bubble. We just heard the chairman of the Finance Committee talk about the looming threat that we are facing as we approach the debt limit. And he refers to a fiscal cliff and the fact that, in fact, as a nation, we could lose our financial footing. We could go over that fiscal cliff. Well, for a lot of folks, they're already looking at their own fiscal cliff. They're not waiting for us to figure out what we're going to do or not do when it comes to dealing with the debt limit. They're not getting paid. They are perhaps a small business like the Song's Sushi Bar and Chinese, which is located across the street from the federal building in Juneau, who is, they're sitting there losing revenues on a daily basis because they don't have the customers that they anticipate every day. The folks that frequent Capitol Brews, which is a drive-through coffee shop, also there in Juneau across from the federal building. Bill's Mini Cash, which is a snack shop inside the Anchorage federal building. These are folks that are looking at it and they're feeling their own fiscal cliff right now, with or without the threat of the debt limit. So they're looking at us and they're saying, wait a minute, you told us a couple weeks ago that we were going to avert this shutdown, that we would figure out how we're going to pass a continuing resolution. We didn't pass a continuing resolution. Somehow or other, that all gets wrapped up in Obamacare. They're trying to figure out where's the nexus here between funding the government and what's going on with the Affordable Care Act. They then find out that, well, we are in a government shutdown. What does that mean for me? I'm sitting here in Alaska, 4,000 miles from Washington, D.C. But then when they learn that Fish and Wildlife is saying, no, you can't go out on the refuge and get the moose that you're going to need to put in your freezer to make it through the winter, or no, you are the crab fisherman who's waiting to go out to the crab grounds beginning October 15, but the quotas have not yet been determined from within the National Marine Fisheries Service Center yet, so you can't go out. The revenues that the industry might be able to derive, about $7 million from the sale of great king crab that we would all love, great market out there, but they're going to not be able to get out in the water because some federal agency 4,000 miles from home hasn't delivered to them the quota. So when we talk about these fiscal cliffs, it's not just waiting for us to hit a debt limit. It's what is happening with this government shutdown. So what they're asking me, and I know each of every one of us is hearing from our constituents, is, so what's your plan? And oh, by the way, you better get on it pretty quick because you've got my attention now. What's the plan? And so they see some of the things coming out of the House. The House has these mini efforts to fund a specific section. Doesn't go anywhere here. We're told, well, we want to open the whole thing, so if we can't open the whole thing and we can't open a portion of it, nothing happens. Nothing happens. So where is the plan? What are we going to do? So I'm pleased to stand with my friend from Maine, Senator Collins, as she has described a plan, which I think is pretty reasonable. I think it is pretty sensible. When you think about those small, rational, reasonable steps that might get us to a place where we can stop the madness, if you will, break this impasse, a proposal that would pull back on the medical device tax with an offset so that you're not eroding, you're not undercutting the revenues that would come in for the Affordable Care Act, a 6-month extension of the continuing resolution, as well as a sequestration with a little bit of flexibility and, oh, let's add in some oversight. Sounds pretty rational. Now, some would suggest that, well, maybe the president doesn't want to do this because it's a small incursion in his signature bill. Well, you know what, Mr. President? Right now, what we need to be thinking about is who we work for. Whether it's the crab fisherman who wants to get out in the water and who's waiting for nymphs to step it up, whether it's the family out in Galena who is hoping that they're going to be able to get their moose before moose season closes, whether it's the guys at Song's Sushi Bar and Chinese there in Juneau, whether it's the Alaska family that I got an email a couple days ago. Family has been planning for a year to go from Alaska, bring all the kids together, boyfriends, girlfriends, and they're going to do a great hike out in the Moab National Park for a week. And they're stuck. Nothing's going on. And their family vacation is ruined. Or what about what's going on? This is an amazing one. The Kenai River happens to proceed through some refuge areas. You can still go fishing now, good rainbow fishing out there, but when you move downriver through that refuge part, you better bring your lines in because we're going to have enforcement action on the river. There are so many stories that we can all attest to, and some of them are horrible. Some of them, as Senator McCain has indicated, families who are grieving the loss of their loved one, someone who has served this country with honor, being denied death benefits. Mr. President, the country expects us to get our act together, and they expect us to do it without delay. And they're not interested in knowing who is going to gain, which side is going to gain more leverage the further we delay. Nobody is winning in this. And I tell my friends, the Democrats, you are not winning. And I tell my friends, the Republicans, we are not winning. The administration is not winning. Everybody is losing in this when we cannot come together with a plan, with a resolve to do the job that we are tasked to do, which is basic governing. And keeping the government open is basic governing. So whether it's Senator Collins' plan, whether it is the effort that is yet to be created, as the senator from Arizona challenged us, let's start this now. Let's not delay any further, because real people, the people that we care for, the people that we are charged to help, are hurting right now. This goes beyond mere inconvenience. This is hurt. So let's do what we have pledged to do. Let's do what we've signed up to do, which is work together. At the end of the day, this is not going to be a Republican plan or a Democrat plan or a Senate plan or a House plan. It is going to be a plan that allows us to govern. And with that, Mr. President, I thank you and I yield the floor.